Following his passion, the eventful service of Gordon Brewer. Many, if not most, high schoolers don't know what they want to do after high school. Many students spend most of their years of education wondering what they truly want to do. Unlike these students, retired Sergeant First Class Gordon Brewer knew he wanted to be a part of the United States Army from a young age. With the highest promotion of an E7, Specialist of Carpentry and Masonry, Squad Leader, and Reservist, Brewer spent 30 years serving for his country. Born on August 7, 1975 in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, to John and Patricia, Brewer grew up with his brother and younger sister. He worked previous jobs before joining the service at 17. Brewer said, "I worked for Foot Locker selling shoes. I worked for this local pizza place driving a delivery van."
Working part-time jobs for, I worked for Foot Locker selling shoes. Worked for the local parts place known as Bamberger's, driving a delivery van, delivering parts.
But Brewer knew he wanted to be a part of something bigger. He knew he has a lot of pride in his country and believes we should give back to our country, which helps build that pride. Initially, Brewer went into the U.S. Army Reserve, yet he still wasn't exactly sure which branch he wanted to enlist in. Throughout middle school, Brewer wanted to be a part of the Air Force and be a mechanic to work on planes. Then, in high school, pride stepped in the way, changing his mind to wanting to be in the Marines. He liked the uniforms, liked the pride, and he was very close to joining the Marines. However, the summer between Brewer's junior and senior year of high school, when the Marine recruiter was hounding him to join, Brewer said, "So he kind of upset me because he was putting too much pressure on me, and then I had a couple of buddies who were in the Army, went and talked to the recruiter, and he told me some things about the Army that I liked."
So he kind of upset me because he was putting too much pressure on me. And I had a couple buddies who were in the Army, went and talked to the recruiter, and he told me some things about the Army that I liked.
After high school, Brewer attended several colleges: University of Maryland, HAC, Harrisburg Area Community College, and RAC, Reading Area Community College. He attended RAC for mechatronics, which supports his job today as a senior maintenance technician. Brewer's first duty station, or basic training, was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. He went to Harrisburg, where he went through the MEPS process. After that, he flew from Harrisburg to St. Louis and then bused to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. After basic training, he had AIT, Advanced Individual Training. This is where Brewer chose his job in the engineering branch as a carpenter and mason. AIT was 7 weeks long and was also on the same installation of Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. After training, Brewer went into active duty for 8 years from 1996 to 2003. During these 8 years, he had several different deployments. Through these several different deployments, Brewer's 2 oldest boys were born. Brewer said, "It would have been my 2 oldest boys, Cody and Joey, and then my wife."
It would have been my 2 oldest boys, Cody and Joey, and then my wife also.
Brewer served as a squad leader for the 52nd Engineers with 10 soldiers assigned to him. He compares it to parenting by saying, "It is a leadership role which is really almost like parenting, where you have like 8 to 10 kids. And I say kids, but obviously they are all young men or women."
It's a leadership role which really is almost more like parenting, where you have like 8 to 10 kids. And I say kids, but I mean obviously they're all young men or women.
Brewer also claims that our military is very unique in the fact that it has every color, race, and religion involved. He also believes having these diversities is what makes our military so strong. Brewer said, "There's definitely personality conflicts, but as there is in anywhere in your life, you have to learn how to navigate those conflicts, and sometimes it can be challenging without a doubt, but definitely is part of the learning and growing process." Going from reserve to active duty is a big change. Brewer noted that being a reservist for a couple of years before going into active duty really allowed him the opportunity to understand the Army, how some things work, and whether or not he would like it. Since he got married prior to going into active duty, Brewer's wife at the time went with him. Brewer felt a rush of many different emotions because he was actually put on a special duty as a lifeguard for 6 months. This was his first assignment in active duty. This reminded Brewer of the idea that being in the military is about remaining flexible and doing whatever you need to do to help. His first deployment was in Bosnia. Brewer said, "Initially that was kind of scary because it was the first time I was deployed, so leaving under tactical posture and not really knowing what to expect."
Initially, that was kind of scary because it was the first time I was deploying. So leaving under tactical posture and not really knowing what to expect.
While in Bosnia for 6 months, they mainly did guard duty for the whole time, which was very abnormal. Brewer states how they just wanted to do their job and build things, but his next opportunity he had was in Kosovo while stationed in Germany. Kosovo is where Brewer and his fellow soldiers built Camp Bondsteel. Camp Bondsteel is a massive camp that still stands today. When he was assigned to the 94th Engineers in Hohenfeld, Germany, the base was just a giant field. They initially built everything from 10 floors to sea huts. In 4 days' time, they built 2 truss-ready sea huts, which rounded the route. Brewer said, "A third-party contractor was putting on the roofs. We made them truss-ready, so that was validation to the top of the walls, basically."
Contractor was putting on the roofs. We made them truss ready, so that was foundation to the top of the walls, basically.
Brewer and his fellow soldiers worked tirelessly for a period of about 6 months. After they built 10 floors, they were given the assignments of starting to build the sea huts. They would arrive at their job site, watch the sunrise and sunset, and would put in about 16 hours of work each day. They would go back to their tents and try to take a shower if they could. Brewer claims that this was probably the hardest he's worked in his life. It was very challenging yet rewarding. Then Brewer was stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado. This is when he was going to Iraq in 2003. This was a little harder for him to leave considering he left his wife and children back at home instead of bringing them. They crossed Kuwait to Iraq one night, and this was in the middle of the night when the war began. They went into Nasiriyah, where a lot of fighting was going on. Brewer and his fellow soldiers had set up camp right near the front line to resupply, and from there they moved to the outskirts of Baghdad. From there, their final destination was Mosul. Brewer said, "We actually stayed at the Mosul airport, and that was interesting because as flights would come in, they would usually drop bombs on us, so our tents would usually start to catch on fire, and we would have to grab a fire extinguisher and try to blow it out." After Iraq, Brewer hoped to be deployed to Hawaii for an assignment, but he was told it was overstrengthening and they wouldn't give him the assignment. So he was tired from being away from his family, and he didn't want his children to have to grow up without their father. Whether it was because of him being deployed all the time or being killed while in action. This is when Brewer makes the decision to go home and become a civilian again. After coming back from active duty, Brewer spent some time in the reserves. Brewer said, "While my time spent in the reserves after active duty, we did a lot of QA, QC on job sites."
My time spent in reserves after active duty, we did a lot of QA and QC on job sites.
They would basically oversee construction and ensure that the buildings were being built correctly and to standard, or jobs were fit to standard, mainly quality assurance and quality control jobs. By the end of Brewer's service, he earned the Bronze Star Medal. Brewer believes that we should teach the younger generation about the service and the importance of defending and honoring our country.